All right. Well, welcome back to the Gut Health Dialogues. Today's guest is Debi Silber. She's the founder of the Post-Betrayal Transformation Institute, a two-time #1 international best-selling author, and host of the podcast From Betrayal to Breakthrough, which ranks in the top 1.5% globally. After experiencing a profound personal betrayal, Dr. Debi went on to complete groundbreaking PhD research on betrayal and healing, uncovering discoveries that reshaped how we understand what it really takes to recover and move forward. So today we're going to talk about betrayal, healing, and what it actually looks like to rebuild after something deeply painful. So Dr. Debi, welcome.
Thanks so much. Looking forward to our conversation.
I am as well. You've spent decades working in health and lifestyle coaching, but your work today is very focused on betrayal and trauma. Can you share a little bit about what led you down this path and how that personal experience turned into a PhD and an entire body of research?
Yeah, sure. You don't think I just like the topic betrayal?
Right?
You study it because you have to. So
Yeah.
I'm in business 34 years, health, mindset, personal development. And then I had a really painful betrayal from my family. I thought I did all I needed to do to heal from that. And then it happened a few years later. This time it was my husband. That was the deal breaker. Got him out of the house, looked at the two experiences, like thinking, what's similar to these two? Of course, me, but what else? And realized I never really took my own needs seriously. It was always about everybody else. So here I was, 4 kids, 6 dogs, a business, and 50 years old. And I find myself enrolling in a PhD program because usually I would go to courses or books or mentors to help me kind of learn my way through something, but I couldn't find anything. So this was so big for me that I needed to understand it. So big. So I enroll in this program, and it was really just so that I could heal, be there for my kids, my clients. It was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal, and that study led to 3 discoveries, which changes everything we know and changed my health, my work, my family, my life.
That's wow. And we definitely want to hear about those 3 discoveries. First, when people think about the word betrayal, I know I often go straight to thinking about infidelity in a relationship, but in your work, betrayal seems to be much broader than that. So how do you define betrayal trauma?
Yeah, I define it as the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule. And every relationship has them. And the way it works is the more we trust, the more we depend on that person, the deeper the betrayal. So imagine a child who's totally dependent on their parent and the parent does something awful. That's going to have a different impact than your best friend sharing your secret. Still a betrayal, different level of cleanup. But we can be betrayed by, well, ourselves, anybody in a position of authority. But the ones that get us the most are the ones with the people that we are the closest to. And once you involve the heart, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah. So would this cross over to financial issues like workplace betrayal as well? Or do you see it just more show up in personal relationships?
No, those things happen as well, where like a financial betrayal, a partnership betrayal, work partnership. I mean, it's so widespread. And one of the most common things we see is when you've experienced many different types of betrayals, like family, you go, let's say, from your family to a partner, to a friend, or friend to friend to friend, or boss to boss to boss. And we say, what the heck? Is it me? Yes, it is. Not in that it's your fault, ever. Betrayal is a choice. It's not a mistake. Let's be clear. But there's a profound lesson that's waiting to be learned. Maybe the lesson is just understand already that you are lovable, worthy, and deserving. Get it already in your head that you need better boundaries in place, whatever it is. Until and unless you get that, you're going to have opportunities in the form of people to teach you. So betrayal is a clear sign of an unhealed betrayal is repeat betrayal.
So what I hear you saying is you might be the common denominator, but that doesn't mean it's your fault. And if anything, that's empowering because there's something you can do about it.
Exactly. And that's what happens until we get the mother of all betrayals and we're like, that's it. I'm never doing this again or that again or whatever again. And when that happens, profound lessons have been learned. So really, really empowering. It's a very different experience when, and hopefully we'll get to the discoveries, but the third discovery really shows you how that won't happen again.
Let's dive right in and talk about the discoveries because
Sure.
that's a really exciting topic. So, in your research, you uncovered three discoveries, right,
Yeah.
that changed how we understand betrayal and healing. So, walk us through those.
Yeah, sure. So the first one was, and everyone's going to realize this, you'll shake your head like, yep, that's so true. Betrayal is a different type of trauma that needs a different way to heal. Now, if you've experienced, let's say, death of a loved one, disease, natural disaster, whatever it is, life is changed forever, right? But you don't necessarily question, like, let's say you lose someone you love. You don't go back and question the relationship. You don't question your ability to trust. You don't question your sanity. With betrayal, you do. With those other types of traumas, too, there's a shattering of life as you've known it, but the self kind of stays intact. With betrayal, there's a shattering of the self. Rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. The invitation is to not just rebuild your life after betrayal and after any other trauma, but you have to rebuild the self too. So it's very different. One of the other ways where betrayal is so different is when you think of other traumas, like let's just take death of a loved one. People rally. They're bringing you the casseroles. They're giving you, what do you need? How can I help? And with betrayal, and so often this is the betrayed does this, they're so humiliated, so embarrassed, so ashamed. So they struggle and suffer in silence with one of the most painful of the human experiences. And then, if that weren't bad enough, very often they're covering for the betrayer. That betrayer is loved by the community, the friends, the family. So they don't want to rat them out. And they have that image to protect, which is a whole other discussion if that's okay with you as the betrayer, but whatever. So they're covering for them. So they're acting as if everything's normal. And then the kids are like, what's for dinner, mom? And you're going to work and doing the things. And you just had one of the most painful things that can ever happen to a human being. And you're acting as if it's a normal Tuesday. Very different than other traumas.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you mentioned initially people feeling like they're a victim of it, but also feeling shame from it. So that's interesting, right?
Yeah. They did nothing wrong. And here they are somehow completely personalizing it as if it's about them. And it's not. And I've worked with hundreds of betrayers, and every single one of them would tell me it had nothing to do with my partner, nothing to do with them. Sometimes they learned the most powerful lessons of their life, completely shattering the heart and trust of that person, but it had nothing to do with them. This is someone else's sense of entitlement, unhealed trauma, whatever. Never excusing it. That's another thing that a lot of betrayed people do, that they'll excuse it. Well, like, oh, they're really struggling with this unhealed trauma from childhood or whatever. Now, that doesn't mean they don't need the help to sort that out, but never is betrayal an excuse. I mean, no, that needs to be worked on, but there's never a reason to betray. So that betrayal is a different type of trauma because you have to rebuild. The invitation is to rebuild your life and yourself. Very different. So any coach, therapist, well-meaning, well-intentioned, says, oh, trauma is trauma. No, it's not. Not at all.
So I think it's helpful also at this point to pause because our listeners might be wondering, what does this have to do with gut health? So,
Mhm.
because this is a gut health podcast, and in my practice, working with people who have digestive issues like IBS, I often see this pattern where someone has gone through a major life stressor or a relational trauma and their gut symptoms begin soon after.
Mhm.
And there's a strong body of research linking trauma and IBS. Up to 60% of people with IBS report a history of psychological trauma. And people with IBS have significantly higher rates of anxiety, PTSD, and early life stress. And one of the core foundational things that we work on with our clients is the gut brain connection. So, have you noticed in your work digestive symptoms?
Yeah, the second discovery was that there's this collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's known as post-betrayal syndrome. Now, we've tested over 100,000 people to see to what extent they're struggling. And I'm happy to share all the stats, but To your point, 45% of those 100,000 plus people all have a digestive issue of some kind. Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, constipation, diarrhea, you name it. I'll share a story. This is totally relevant. There was a woman in our program in her mid 80s, and she had a 70 plus year digestive issue from a family betrayal. She was adopted. They didn't tell her, like that kind of thing. So you can imagine over the course of 70 years, the protocols, the medications, the supplements, the food, the things, right? And 2 weeks in our program, she healed from a 70 plus year digestive issue. Well, that's because she was dealing with the root cause. And that's what happens. There are incredible experts like you out there, but without understanding betrayal, we're supporting the gut issues, doing all we can. But if that's what created it in the first place, that's what needs the attention. And when you think of what the gut does, it absorbs, digests, and processes food, right? Well, isn't a betrayal difficult to absorb, digest, and process? Like, no wonder the gut's a wreck. So I was surprised that it was only 45%. I thought for sure it would be more.
Right. Well, that's IBS. And you just mentioned a few other gut conditions. So absolutely, if we're talking about overall gut issues or symptoms, I would imagine it's higher as well. And yeah, because we're functional nutritionists, so we're helping people rebalance their gut microbiome and support some of these issues that are downstream of the root cause. So we talk about root cause work so much. And so if you think about, okay, diarrhea, the standard medical approach is here's your anti-diarrheal medication. So you can look at the root cause and say, oh, maybe you're not producing enough enzymes to digest fats, or maybe you have an overgrowth of bacteria. But when we think about what's at the root of that, so that's a root cause, right? But what's at the root of the root? To me, that's where the psychological issues come in.
Yeah. It's just amazing because if I tell you how many people we've seen, and this is through the third discovery, while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, so many people do, if we're going to fully heal, I mean symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome, I just shared one of them, but gut health, there are so many, to this completely rebuilt place, we will move through 5 proven predictable stages. And we even know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at every stage. And we know what it takes to move from one stage to the next. Healing is entirely predictable. So when we see someone move through the stages, every single symptom heals. I mean, it was so beautiful to watch someone who I remember in my study, there was a woman who she'd be hospitalized from, I think it was diverticulitis. She would have these incredibly painful experiences, rush to the hospital. It was all around this horrific relationship she was having and the trauma associated with it. And then when she moved through the stages and really unhooked herself from all the craziness of it, she realized, oh, wow, I haven't been to the hospital in a while. I haven't had these bouts of extreme pain and all that goes with it. And we saw that with so many symptoms, anything from accelerated aging. People come in looking 10 years older, they leave looking 10 years younger. Gut health, immune function, anxiety, sleep issues, and they're all directly tied to that betrayal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned in that example, she was still in the chaotic relationship, but these issues can, I think it was the other example, the 70 years later, you could still be suffering from trauma that happened prior that's over.
Well, that's why people say time heals all wounds. I have the proof when it comes to betrayal. That's not true. There's a question on the post-betrayal syndrome assessment that says, is there anything else you'd like to share? People write things like, my betrayal happened 35 years ago. I'll never trust again. My betrayal happened 15 years ago. It feels like it happened yesterday. So we know we can't count on time. We can't count on a new relationship to heal it. Healing needs to be deliberate and intentional. So for those people who are thinking, oh, it can't possibly be from that betrayal, it happened so many years ago. Oh, yes, it can. And you only know that when you work deliberately on that betrayal to heal it, because the symptoms go. I mean, we see it over and over again.
So what are the 5 stages of betrayal recovery that you're referring to?
Yeah. So this was the most exciting. And not only was there just particular stages, and we would see things in one stage, and then we learn what we need to do to move from one stage to the next. There was like a language to each stage. People are saying things in certain stages, which is why in our practitioner training, we teach the language, because if someone comes to you and they're like, I'm fine, you know, that's stage 3. And then, oh my gosh, there's so much more we can do, where most people get stuck. So happy to share the stages just super briefly. So stage 1, this is before it happens. And if you can imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. What I saw with everybody, me too, was this heavy lean on the physical and mental thinking and doing, right? We're so good at that, and neglecting or ignoring the emotional and the spiritual feeling and being. What's interesting about stage 1 is we turn our intuition down, and we do this unintentionally and sometimes intentionally. And people get so upset with themselves. They're like, how did I not see? How did I not know? Well, you don't know how to think like that. So that's a good thing. And the other thing is, if you intentionally turn down your intuition, people get so angry at themselves that they've done this, but maybe you didn't have the physical, the mental, the emotional, the financial bandwidth to take that on, meaning your intuition is telling you something's up, something's going on. But if you were to confront it, the whole life you've created would likely unravel. So we sort of figure, many people do, I'm going to act like I didn't think that, see that, feel that, so I can keep things intact. And
Makes
it's
a
a
lot of
really
sense.
common thing. And it doesn't go away. It doesn't help. It creates more symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome, but it's a typical thing that people do. Anyway, stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, discovery day. This is the scariest of all of the stages. And it's the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. So right here, you've ignited the stress response. You're now headed for every single stress-related symptom, illness, condition, disease. The mind is in a complete state of chaos and overwhelm. We cannot understand what we just learned. And our worldview has just been shattered. That's our mental model, that it's like, trust this person, go here, these are the rules, And in one earth-shattering moment, every rule we've been holding on to is no longer true. The bottom has bottomed out on us, and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. So this is terrifying, right? But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You'd grab hold of anything or anyone in order to stay alive and stay safe. That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is the most common and the most practical out of all of the stages. If you can't help me, get out of my way. Where do I go? Who can I trust? But here's the thing. This is the most common place we get stuck in. And I imagine, I would say 80% of the people you work with are in stage 3. And here's why. Once we've figured out how to survive our experience, because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma we just came from, we think it's good. And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we don't know about stage 4 or stage 5. Transformation doesn't even begin until stage 4. But because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we plant roots here. We're not supposed to, but we don't know that. We create this functional, foundational life, and then we get celebrated for it. Oh, you're so much better than you were. Good for you. Go you. Rightly so. But it fools us into thinking this is as good as it's going to get. So 4 things happen. The first thing is we start getting all those small self-benefits. You get sympathy from everyone you share your story with. You get someone to blame. You get a target for your anger. And on some level, you're so unhappy, but you're getting these things and it feels good. So you plant deeper roots. And now the mind starts doing things like, maybe you're not that great. Maybe it's you. Maybe this, maybe that. So we plant deeper roots. And now, because we're here longer than we should be, and these are the thoughts we're thinking, we start putting energy out like this. Like energy attracts like energy. So now we're attracting people and circumstances and even new relationships to confirm, yep, this is as good as it's going to get. Like, here's where we join that lame support group. And now you have people where you're like, oh, my people. And they're like, oh, you think that's bad? This happened to me. Oh, you think that's bad? And then here's where we go to a well-meaning, well-intentioned therapist, counselor. And if they're not highly skilled in betrayal, you're going to feel heard and validated and understood. It's solidifying your spot in the hardest place to leave, stage 3. Here's where we sabotage our healing because we're afraid to outgrow the betrayer. And because we're so unhappy here, but we don't know there's anywhere else to go, right here we start numbing. So now we start using food, drugs, alcohol, work, whatever, to make it easier somehow. And we do it for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 20 years. I can see someone 20 years later and say that emotional eating you're doing, whatever. Do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? They'd look at me like I'm crazy. They'd say it happened 20 years ago. All they did was put themselves in stage 3, the most common place we get stuck. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so much sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why most people live there. So people ask me all the time, should I rebuild with them? Should I just start with someone new? What should I do? And I always say, you need to get yourself to stage 5, because in stage 3, you only have access to stage 3 thoughts. You can only do stage 3 things, right? In stage 4, you're seeing things from a completely different perspective. Same thing with stage 5. So whatever decision you're making in stage 3 could be the same one, could be one that's entirely different, but you're making it from a place of strength and clarity versus scarcity and fear. Can I
Amazing.
get you to stages 4 and 5?
Yep, let's go.
And I'll leave anybody in stage 3. It's bad enough.
Stuck
Or
in stage 3.
no way, not on my watch. If you're willing to let go of the story, all it gives, you grieve more than the loss. Bunch of things you need to do. You move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. Just even in that decision, you're turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but at least you stopped the massive damage that was going on in stages 2 and stage 3. Stage 4 feels like, I always use this reference because it just, everybody can understand this. If you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, whatever, your stuff's not there. It's not quite cozy yet, but it's this sort of hopeful excitement, you know? But think about it. If you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You don't take the things that kind of don't represent who you're now ready to become. And what I found was there's this one spot as people leave stage 3 and come into stage 4, that lame support group, you're done. The therapist who you're just feeling heard, validated, understood, you're done. The betrayer who's not changing, you're done. And people ask me all the time, Dr. Debi, is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. And if they don't rise, they don't get to come along. So very personal space right here. The caterpillar has gone into the cocoon. Stage 5, this is such a beautiful stage, and it's healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal. Self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. You didn't have the bandwidth earlier. Now you do. The mind is healing, making all kinds of new rules, new boundaries. And we have a whole new worldview based on everything we see so clearly now. And the 4 legs of that table, it was all about the physical and the mental. By this point, we're solidly grounded because we're focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
All right. And so most people go through stage 1, 2 on their own. They're stuck in stage 3. And then you have a program, right, that helps people move out of stage 3 into up the ladder?
We have it. It's our practitioner program, because once the 5 stages were discovered and I was helping people move through the 5 stages with a few of my certified PBT coaches and practitioners, then I thought about it and I was like, these 5 stages, the research proves it. We've seen it over and over again, how it can save someone 20, 30 years, like truly healing physically, mentally, and emotionally. And the best way for us to really get the 5 stages out is through our certification program. So that's really what we're doing now, is certifying just coaches, healers, practitioners. We have a wait list of so many people who've been betrayed, and we don't have enough practitioners who have been certified in the 5 stages to meet that need. We're just certifying healers and coaches and doctors and therapists, because whether you're doing this exclusively or many people who get certified just have these tools in their toolkits. So when someone presents with that gut issue, or as that most resistant client where it's weird, everything works with everybody else, why not them? They're betrayed. So you know what to look for and you know how to really help them.
So for those listening, our audience is mostly people who are having gut issues, who are interested in this conversation, who think they might be betrayed. How can they access this training? I know you said you're short on practitioners.
We really are. Yeah. So everything is at the PBT, as in post-betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com. If they've been betrayed and they're just looking to heal, they're welcome to join our wait list. If they're a coach, practitioner, therapist, counselor, whatever of any kind, then they're eligible to be a certified PBT coach or practitioner. And what people love about the training is we move you through the 5 stages first. And we do it for 2 reasons: to clean up anything for you that may be lingering, and to know what it feels like to move through the stages. Because this way, anybody you're seeing, you hear something, they say something, you sense something, you know from a deep, deep place of knowing because you've been through it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then you also have a book, right?
My newest book, yeah, Unstuck. This is book number 9. And this one, every other book was for someone who's been betrayed or the betrayer. But this one is for practitioners because I want them to understand the language. Like, perfect example, someone gets to stage 3 and they're fine. They're back to work and doing the things. And so a coach, let's say, who doesn't know the 5 stages looks at that saying, okay, I guess they're good, sends them on their way, the relationship ends. And meanwhile, if they understood the language of stage 3, they realize, oh my gosh, I'm sending them away before the most fulfilling part of the work for them, for the transformation for the client. As far as a business standpoint, think of the referrals. When you can actually move someone through a transformation compared to, I'm fine, think of the referrals you get. So we want Unstuck is really for that practitioner to understand, oh, you know what? I'm a health coach, but my client who's struggling with that emotional eating, that's because of that old betrayal. They're struggling with sleep issues or whatever. So when they understand what post-betrayal syndrome symptoms look like, how they show up, how they present, they could just help their clients so much more effectively. So Unstuck is for the practitioner.
I would imagine there are people who are listening to this thinking, absolutely, this relates to me. I've been betrayed. Do you think there are people walking around that just never pieced it together and just kind of forgot about all that happened, pushed it back, suppressed it, and don't realize that it's playing a role?
100%. It's one of those things that I think we're taught and told that time heals it. So we think it can't possibly be this betrayal. Like the woman in her 80s I talked about going through 70 years with this gut issue, she had no idea it could have been tied to that betrayal from years ago. She said, how can it possibly, how can I be struggling with something for 70 years from something that happened so long ago? So it's really common that someone even just hears something I'm saying here, and then all of a sudden there's that light bulb moment. Like I remember there was this one guy interviewing me, and all of a sudden he was like, "Well, I've never been betrayed." I'm like, "Well, good for you. That's awesome." And we're talking, and then all of a sudden, midway through, he goes, "Oh my gosh!" He goes, "I was 4 years old. My brother used to always take all my toys, so I didn't want him to take them. And then I had this favorite, unbelievable toy, and he's like, let me play with it. Let me play with it. And I said no, and he took it anyway, and he broke it. And he goes, my whole life, I don't let anybody touch my stuff."
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it just shows up. And when we understand it, and when we understand how far back this stuff goes, then we can truly heal it and be free.
Yeah. And I asked that question because even when I talk about stress with clients, just stress, which is such a broad term to try to describe all the emotional issues we can have that are affecting our health, a lot of people just, the natural response, unless something unusually dramatic is happening currently, they don't realize they're stressed because I think we just cope with life. We don't sit there, we don't dwell on things. We have to move forward, truck along. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much they're holding on to.
And I'll tell you, so many people live a stage 3 life unintentionally. And it doesn't have to be from the big traumas. It could be from something so small. Like here's an example. Let's say you were a little kid and you had earth-shattering news to share with your mom. And you race into the kitchen and she's on the phone. So she shushes you. Shh, shh, shh. In that moment, you could have made that mean, I don't matter. And what we believe grows. So now the mind looks for confirming evidence. So now you get a little bit older. Someone cuts you off in traffic. I don't matter. Someone accidentally closes a door, in your face. I don't matter. You get passed up for that promotion. I don't matter. Now, if you believe you don't matter, think of what you'll do, what you won't do, who you'll be with, all of it, all from something as a small shushing, right? So it's really a call to take a look at all of it. And if we're just fine, just know you're living a stage 3 life and you deserve so much more than that.
All right. Well, that's a great final message. Is there anything else you'd like Anyone listening who has experienced betrayal, anything you'd like to tell them or that you'd want them to know?
Yeah, I would say I've been through it. I know how painful it is. The worst of it is over. You don't want to settle for fine. Like, just you owe it to yourself to move through the stages. There's a roadmap. You don't have to guess. And to live a stage 5 life, which is filled with abundant health and joy and confidence and empowerment because you've rebuilt yourself from the ground up, it's available to you. Don't settle for a stage 3 life.
That's great. And what are some signs to you that somebody's ready versus maybe not ready to move
Yeah.
forward?
When their story is more important to them, when they're more committed to their trauma than their transformation, they're not ready. When they've outgrown the story, when they've outgrown who they were, when they realize there's no going back, so I may as well create something magnificent. It's so beautiful to watch someone like that.
Love that. So if you're joining the support group and you feel comforted, maybe you're moving from stage 2 to stage 3. But if you feel like, which I hear a lot of people say, gosh, the support group is dragging me down,
Mm, yeah.
you're ready, right?
You need to be uncomfortable. There's a saying I've been saying 34 years I'm in business, and it's hard now, easy later. Easy now, hard later. Take your pick. It's going to be one of those two. If you truly want to heal from betrayal, it is full on hard now, easy later. And by that, I mean a thought comes in your head and you want to question it and you want to say, the new me that I'm building, is this worthy and deserving of coming along? Because if not, it doesn't get to. You take all the parts you love and you leave behind everything that no longer serves. But so many people choose the easy now, hard later. Easy now, I don't want to have a confrontation. Easy now, this is as good as it's going to get. I better find a way to live with it. Easy now, maybe I'm just destined to live like this. Hard later, nothing changes. Nothing.
Yeah. So you have to finally be tired of suffering.
That's it. That's it. And willing to move into a space you don't know what it's going to look like, but you have to trust it's going to be so much better than where you're at.
Yeah. And stay open, there's a solution out there. I think a lot of times people do get in their own way and think I've tried everything. If it was real, I would have heard of it before, that sort of thing.
Well, I don't know if they've heard of the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough, because if you haven't, and if you haven't tried them, I'm not just telling you because of my story. I did the research and it was proven. Like once the research proved it, I'm like, okay, now we're working with something. And then we thousands of people moving through the 5 stages. So just give it a try. And so you can see for yourself.
And just to be clear, what were the 3 discoveries again that we had initially been talking about from your research?
Betrayal is a different type of trauma that needs a different way to heal. And when you've completely healed from it, rebuilding your life and yourself, you've entered into this space of post-betrayal transformation instead of post-traumatic growth, right? Whereas rebuilding your life, you rebuilt yourself too. So betrayal is a different type of trauma. 2, there's a collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's now known as post-betrayal syndrome. And 3, there are 5 proven, predictable, research-based stages we will go through if we fully heal. Most people are stuck in stage 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And one final question, because I think people listening might wonder about this. Did you want to share some logistics of the program, or do you recommend they just go to your website and get the info from there?
No, I'm happy to share. Everything is at the PBT is in post betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com. But our practitioner program is we run you through our signature betrayal to breakthrough program, which literally moves you through the stages. All kinds of experiential activities. Like we don't want you to leave a stage till you could check off everything saying, I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel that anymore. Oh, I do feel this. I'm good. Yeah. And then you move forward. Once you've done that, then it's the certification modules. And we're teaching you the language of each stage, what it looks like, the symptoms, the 4 different types of trust that need to be rebuilt. Most people don't know what they are, which one to work on first, all kinds of handouts and things that you could do with your clients. And then there's an exam and then a case study conversation where we just share some stories, like people likely to come your way, just so you know what each stage can look like and what to do with that person.
Well, that sounds wonderful, very comprehensive. And I so appreciate you sharing this information with our audience because that's a big number, those statistics we're talking about. And I see it every day. So I know how important this conversation is. But I also recognize that our audience may not, because a lot of people don't understand just how closely the brain and gut are connected. So hopefully this sheds some light on how your personal emotional experiences have such a profound impact on your gut. You shared some really exciting experiences about people seeing very, very dramatic results once they address the root cause. So
Thank you so much.